authentication. When we submit the high score, it authenticates based on the user sign in. And when so let me just demonstrate this. So when we actually sign in, we can see all the global high scores here, and all these are actually over here in the Snake like real-time database. You can see all the scores here sorted in order. There's some filler scores, and all these are sorted in order like that. So these are all good already. Okay, so one thing that I actually did after the streaming just now was I actually tried to do this anonymous sign in. Okay, so this is the anonymous sign in. Okay, you only need to in the request field you need to put a request secure token. That's one thing, and then in the return field, we can use the same return field as details because it contains a subset of whatever that is over here. Okay, so that is possible, and basically the anonymous way will still be to go through this API in Identity Toolkit, but instead we use sign up. Okay, so I actually want to just show you how it looks like. So let's go to the REST API. Just want to show you this thing. Okay, so so if we don't use the OAuth 2 in which is the newer version of the sign in, you are actually only able to do like email based sign in and anonymous sign in, like sign in with email, password. Yeah, you can also use OAuth 2 in the REST API. Okay, I have to go and find out how to do this, but it seems that it's possible to use REST API to do the OAuth authentication as well. Though I think that it might just be easier if we do it using the SDK. When we use like Unity and the app, that we can do SDK, which is much easier than doing the REST API yourself. So I think for my games, if it's WebGL, it will not be using like Google sign in or YouTube sign in, that kind of stuff. It will just be using like email and password if needed. And for this Snake game, actually, email password not needed because it's such a simple game. You don't really expect people to want to save their game state across days. It's not like an RPG, that kind of stuff. So there's no real need to. So I went to go and look at all the rest of the functions. So just now we talked about the refresh token, right? So actually you can also send a post request to this site, okay? And the grant type you just put refresh token, and the refresh token will be the refresh token that you got when you first logged in or sign in or sign up. Okay, so the refresh token will give you a new refresh token that you can use again to ask for another token, and it will give you another ID token. Okay, so basically this ID token is basically your entry to query the database in Firebase until it is used up. Like the expires in will tell you how many seconds is used up in. Typically it's up to 1 hour, so it's 3600 seconds. So after it's used up, you need to request again for another payload. Okay, so this is the sign up with email password. Okay, so if people want to sign up with email password, you can use this. Sign in with email password. If you already have an account, you can sign in with this is the method that we used just now. Okay, then there's an anonymous method which allows you to let the user maybe take, like if you have some games where you want people to just play first without them bothering to sign in, until when they play finish they want to save their status, then they can then sign in anonymously. Sorry, then they can then upgrade this sign in anonymously to a proper account. Yeah, so I'll just show you this sign in anonymously right now. So I've created some code over here to do it anonymously. It's similar to the authenticate with the normal one. So anon only has this return secure token because in the anon you only need this in the request body payload. Okay, so back to the code. In anon we also have this response.text. Okay, which I will want to show you what gets returned. Okay, so we query again the sign up with the key, which is our API key. Okay, and then I will just show you what it looks like once we have this. Okay, so I put this authenticate anonymous at the start here. Okay, so just take notes what happens when I play this. Okay, actually we are more or less done with the snake game. This is just showing you what it looks like if we sign in anonymously. So we get this thing here, which basically just tells us the kind, the ID token. This is the important one, which we will need to query the database later. Okay, we have a refresh token. If we need to refresh the token again, we can send another request to do it. But actually, since we also send a post request when we actually sign in, we might as well just re-sign in again. I don't see why we need to use a refresh token actually. Yeah, and in particular because the user does not need to key in the email and password. I mean, we provide the email and password as a default sign account just for this use case. But if you have the user key in the email and password and you don't want the user to keep typing the email and password, then the refresh token will come into play. Maybe you can, in your Unity update method, you can like count maybe 59 minutes using like maybe time dot delta time to count, and then right before the 60 minutes is up, you send a request to refresh the token. That could be possible. Okay, so that's all you see. Now just pay attention to this local ID. So this local ID is ZTGPMI. So actually, whenever you create an account in the Firebase console, you go to authentication. In the users, you see this user ID will be created. So it's like, when you sign into your RPG game, this is like your unique identifier that will belong to you. So actually, you can put a lot of code that belongs to you inside this kind of user ID. Okay, and then later when you upgrade it, this can actually upgrade to the username and the password. Okay, but for this authentication method, if you use by anonymous, okay, every time you restart your browser and sign in again, your unique user ID will not be unique anymore. Let me just show you. Your unique user ID will be will be this. So you'll see that we have created, and if we refresh this page, you'll see that we have created one more extra user here. Okay, so it means that whatever data you have over here, I mean, if you store it in the database under this unique ID, which you should because each user only has one unique ID. Okay, but for anonymous, you can have multiple unique IDs. Okay, but that's unfortunate. But actually, if you look at the documentation for anonymous unique ID, yeah. So if you look at the okay, so this one will be authentication. Maybe Firebase. So I actually read somewhere that you can authenticate. Uh, okay, so I don't think until you call sign out user uninstall. Yeah, so I guess if you were to use if you were to use anonymous on a handphone, the unique ID will stay the same. Okay, but if I on and on my Unity like that, it's as though I sign in and sign out app many times. Yeah. Okay, but right now in this method of authentication, you see we created many anonymous like that, which is not exactly ideal. But in the later API, which is the next version of authentication, the OAuth 2, they said that even for the anonymous case, the UID will be the same. I'm not too sure about that, but yeah, it seems that actually we can have a unique ID every time we sign in anonymously from the same account. I mean, I didn't really test it, but in this case, we don't really need to do this, okay, because we don't really need people to have separate accounts. Okay, I mean, suppose that if we have separate accounts, okay, I'm not sure whether when they log into the browser under different login circumstances, whether the UID will be the same or not. Yeah, not very, uh, how do I put it? I'm not too sure about that. Okay, so for now, we're just going to let everyone just use this trial user account and just get this same UID. So let's go back to our code. Okay, so we will just use the authenticate normally method without the anonymous. We just use the authenticate method here. Okay, and then I'll just print out the local ID here just to let you see how the unique ID remains the same when we log in with an email and password. So for more advanced stuff like login with Facebook, Google, that is better to be done with the SDK, I feel. Yeah. Or I mean, if I figure out how to use the REST API to do the OAuth 2, then you could do that as well. I'm pretty sure it can be done. I'm just not sure how to do it. Okay, so this is the unique ID QF until 93. Okay, so you can see that it corresponds to this. You might be thinking, okay, what if I relog in the game again? Will it be the same? Okay, the answer is actually yes. The unique ID will be the same if we relog in again. See, it gives me the same ID as well, same as this. No user has been created, so we all use this same user to log in. Okay, so uh, yeah, seems that like it's kind of working. Okay, I'm just thinking whether I want to use this anonymous method in order to generate my own user ID, and then from that user ID, I can then use this to, if we go to our real-time database, we could actually like prevent users from like overwriting other people's username. We could actually do this. We could put this as the unique ID as the header here. Okay, and then over here down here will then be their username and user score like that. So one person's unique ID will only be for themselves, and then they cannot modify the other people's scores. I guess we could try that. I mean, I never deployed it in the browser. I don't know whether it will work, but I think we could try this. We could try using Authenticate Anon. Okay. So in order to check whether I will get the same code again, why not let's do this. We do the Authenticate Anon twice and we see whether it's the same. We do the Authenticate Anon twice and we see whether it prints out the same user ID or not. So let's just see. I mean, the same run session, does it print out the same user ID? That could be critical. Yeah. So we can see over here, the first one we get J2, second one we get, yeah. So even in the same session, you do two anonymous logins. It kind of doesn't, it doesn't really persist even in the same session. So it means that this anon method is not that good. It doesn't give us a unique ID. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, instead of using an anonymous account like that, or like forcing people to sign in, I'm just going to give everyone a trial at user.com, okay, in order to access the database. I mean, this is an added layer of protection, so only my app, which knows the username and the password, like the username is trial.user.com and the password is trials. Okay, we can actually like reset password here. Yeah, see over here, if you want to reset password, you send a password reset mail to that person. Kind of cool, right? I mean, Google does it all for you. It's like kind of a professional service kind of thing. Yeah, but we don't need this for such a simple snake game. Okay, we don't need it at all. Okay, so we're just gonna use this user. Okay, now is this user. When I upload my game and off my stream, I'm probably gonna change the user so that people cannot uh, people cannot access my scoreboard. So yeah, I just put my scoreboard to the public right now just to show you how I did it. Yeah, it's also one of the first times that I'm doing it. I'm quite happy that it actually worked. Yeah, this is the first step to a multiplayer game also. We can also use this to do multiplayer stuff using the database to store the moves. Okay, and in fact, there's also this thing called the cloud messaging. Not sure whether I can show you here, but yeah, you can do chat bots as well using this Firebase. It's actually really cool. Okay, so now that we want to use the authenticate here to do our authentication, okay, so it means that whenever we will need to authenticate this. So whenever people want to view their scoreboard or they want to, yeah, so in the show high score name, okay, so in the authenticate method, and okay, authenticate anon, we can keep it there, but we don't need it. Okay, when we submit our high score, all right, we should actually, because the token expires in 1 hour. So we need to like sort of know how to reset this. Okay, this could be done in the submit high score or the reset high score method. Okay, or actually what we can do is in the update method of this, do an authentication every 59 minutes. We could just do this. Then because every time we call authenticate, we will have a new token. So every 59 minutes, we will refresh. So let's see, Unity counts minutes. Yeah, let's see how to do this. Okay, so yeah, we can just do this time dot delta time. Okay, yeah, I think we have to use time dot delta time. Okay, how to make a timer using time dot delta time? It's like this. Time remaining is 10. Okay, so I guess this time remaining is like whatever that is like the number of minutes. Okay. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so if time greater than 59, then authenticate. Okay, and then time equals to 0. Else time plus equals to time dot delta time. Okay, and maybe we should just print out the time just to see what it is. So at the beginning of this, we will have the time being floats time equals to 0. So at the beginning when we authenticate, we will make our, so every time we authenticate and we successfully authenticate it, okay, we'll make our time equals, okay, let's not do it here. Okay, just in case, it keeps failing and failing, I don't want it to crash the game. So let's just put it here. Time equals to 0. So let's print this out. So we should see the time being counted up bit by bit every time. And then once the time is there, then we re-log in again. So you see, this is 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. So it seems like the time dot delta time is in seconds. I'm not wrong. So I wanted to do like 59 minutes. So best way to count minutes, I guess over here in timer percent 60. Yeah, so time dot delta time is in seconds. So 60 is one. Yeah, so 60 is 1 hour per minute. One is 1 minute per minute. Yeah, I guess if time dot delta time is done, we could refresh this every 59 minutes. So let's just see in the, so every time we refresh our scene, like we go to hard mode or normal mode, we will authenticate one time. Okay, if not over here, let's just do 59 times 60. Yeah, I guess time dot delta time is in 60. Okay, so let's just do for like 10 seconds first. So I just want to see that after 10 seconds, it refreshes again by going back to zero. So let's see like this looping is behavior is done. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. Okay, so it goes back to zero. Very good. So whether it authenticates or not, we wouldn't know for sure because actually we might know because we actually printed out the authentication status when we do our authenticate. Let's go and see authentication done. Okay, but you can see that we don't really have the, so while they say authentication is done, okay, we don't really have this response to ID token or this. So it means that it takes a while for it to work. Okay, so let's not print the time now. Let's just see whether we can keep getting a new authenticated token every like 10 seconds. So I just want to make sure that the token is refreshed constantly so that we can continue to access the database. So this was the first iteration of authentication. Okay, so I think I really could also use the refresh token, but I don't think I want to do that because there's no need to. We are not exactly taking in the user email or password, but if you are doing that, yeah, by all means use the refresh token to ask for another token and store the new token and the new refresh token. Then after the set time, you can use the refresh token to request for another one. So it does look like it's working, isn't it? So after 59 minutes, we request for a new token here. And actually that's about it. That's about it. Yeah, I think that's good enough already. Uh, it's kind of nice. Yeah. So let's just test out our system again. So yeah, I'm going to submit. I'm going to upload this to each after the stream. Okay, and I want to like change my API a bit, just to make sure that the database is private, to prevent any DDoS attacks. Okay, but let's see. So now the score is 82. So we have all this here. Okay, let's write a new score. So maybe we have lemon. Submit this, and then we see lemon is at the top now. Okay, we go back to the REST API, and we see that in the users we do have another one called lemon. Oh, that's great. So right now in my rules, okay, I'm gonna activate this one. So once I activate this, it means that you need to be an authorized user in order to read and write. Okay, if you are doing like more advanced stuff, I mean the read can be this and the write, you could actually use the requirement where your this user ID, okay, is equals to the file that the header that you're reading, which is also like the UID, dollar UID. So that's one of the rules that could be done. Uh, yeah, maybe I just show you what I'm referring to. So there's this rule that okay, structure security rules. Yeah, so yeah, what I'm referring to is that you can only modify your rule if you are the user. So yeah, like this. So only you can only modify the branch of the JSON that you are the header of. Yeah. So that's more secure in that sense. Okay, and that applies if you have like unique sign-ins. Okay, and right now we don't really use that for our database. We are just letting everyone sign in using the default account. And what's my default account? I'm just using this shell.user.com. I mean, I could actually, the game actually works perfectly well if I just let the rules here be true. That means anyone can read and write. But I just want to make sure that no one else actually writes into this database. That's why I created this extra step of authentication, where you have to use like even the trial account is a is an added layer of protection because if you don't know the trial account username password, you cannot sign in. And even if you sign in anonymously using the REST API, okay, you need to know this. You need to know this thing. You need to know the API address. Where was it? Yeah, you need to know this API key. If not, you cannot sign in as well. Yeah, so it's an additional layer of security. And of course, in order to change the data, okay, you need to know the database address here. Okay, so there are a few layers of security that you can employ for this. If no one actually sees all this, maybe an open database won't be actually hacked. Yeah, but if you like, let's say, show people your address here, show people your API key, it's possible for people to use this get and put requests for the REST API in order to edit your database. So just be aware of that. Yep. So actually, it's all looking good. So if we go to hard mode, let's just try to do something in hard mode. Okay, my score is 68. Okay, let's see the global scores. Nothing here yet. Okay. Okay, actually there is. I put CM as 5 just now. So you see hard mode, there's a CM user. So let's submit a score. Submit a score in hard mode. Maybe my score will be like RPG, maybe. Yeah. You can see our global scores RPG is at the top. And over here, we have RPG. And it's all good because the rules here is you must be authenticated to read and write. So that means the database is already working. Okay, one thing is that if you are the player, you can submit your high score multiple times with different names. I think I'm just going to allow it. Yeah, I mean, one way I can do it is only when your high score exceeds a certain, like exceeds your previous threshold, then this button is active. But I think, this is a casual game. If people want to flood the high score with their name or multiple names, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's it for the game. Let me just play one round of this. Okay, so yeah, I'm very happy with the game actually. Yeah, so the next few stuff I'm gonna do for this game is to like create a volume button. It's been requested. Oh yeah, distracted. Yeah, so create a volume button. I'll do the volume button over here. Okay, and then some people also request that do it for like mobile easier to press the button. So maybe I'll do an up, left, right, and down here like a bit translucent buttons over here, so people can can press, and then maybe a start button in the center. Yeah. So all these are going to be done, and then maybe up here I will put a button called mobile version. Yeah. So that can be future works for the game. I don't think this will take more than 1 day actually. Probably can be done tomorrow, but I'm very very happy. You see, now we've done all this. Happy. Wow, this is my first time doing a global leaderboard. So happy that it works. Yeah, even with authentication, it's a breakthrough. Okay, so actually, that's it for the stream today, and yeah, hope you all enjoy it. Okay, see ya.